It's Yuri's night. And the feeling's right. So you guys, I'm so old. I'm so old. I was alive when Yuri orbited the Earth. And the grown-ups like totally freaked out because he was on the ultimate high ground. And then the United States had to build a bunch of these things to answer the call. So it really was an extraordinary deal. Apparently, if you don't know the story, the retro rockets didn't work exactly as planned. Retro rockets are a very important aspect of this business. So he just jumped out of his capsule and parachuted to the ground. You know, the way you do. And they kept it, apparently the former Soviet Union kept it secret for a long time. But the guy changed the world. He changed the world. He changed the way each and every one of us feels about being an Earthling and living here on this planet in our place in space. So if I'm up here and I say something, if I just offhandedly, next slide, does it happen? Whoa, cool. So this is Gray. I'm no expert, but I have my sense is you're from Australia.
Yes.
So this is Canberra in Australia, where we have several telescopes, which are part of the Deep Space Network. And it's really a remarkable thing, everybody. Right now, the International Space Station is flying overhead. 8:06, yeah, right now. So if you guys want to run outside, you might get a glimpse, but I think we would be, as we say in astronomy, weathered out. I think there's just enough cloud cover where you wouldn't see it. Anyway, it's really a remarkable thing that we need telescopes at least 3 locations around the world in order to observe objects in deep space. And one of them has got to be, somebody's got to have one in the southern hemisphere, and Australia is very well positioned between North America and Eurasia. It's really a remarkable thing. And the reason we build these instruments is to answer 2 questions. Can we advance? Click. Yes. Where did we come from? Everyone wonders where we all came from. We're all Earthlings. We all are from the Earth. If you ever met my old boss, I was never sure because he was so weird. And then the other question, the other deep question is, are we alone in the universe? And if you want to answer those 2 questions, you have to explore space. So not only am I old enough to remember when Yuri Gagarin flew and John Glenn flew, but I'm so old that I was in engineering school when engineering school, right on. Relax, party on. Woo! Listen, everybody, we want as many engineers and scientists as we need. We don't have enough right now, but we do not want everybody to be an engineer. I mean, the fashion consequences alone, people would be very troubling. But I was in engineering school when Carl Sagan was still teaching. So he felt that in 1980, during the disco era, he felt that public interest in space exploration was very high, yet government support for it was not especially high. So he and 2 other guys started the Planetary Society. The 2 other guys are Bruce Murray, camera left, who was the head of the Jet Propulsion Lab during the Viking landings on Mars and the Voyager missions, which are have left the solar system and are leaving the solar system. And then the other guy is Lou Friedman, who is an expert in orbital mechanics, in the calculus of planets and spacecraft. 3 body problems for you buffs, and the Hamiltonian and the Lagrangian. So they started the Planetary Society in 1980. I joined because I got a letter in the mail. I see some of the young people. This was a way to store information. Outside of your body was plant-based information storage. It's a long time ago. And I've been a member ever since, and you're familiar with this. Carl Sagan's kids watched the Science Guy show, so I was asked to speak at his memorial service. When he was my age, he was 6 months from dying. It's a really sobering time for me. When I spoke at his memorial service, I was asked to be on the board of directors of the Planetary Society, along with Neil deGrasse Tyson, Ron Levin, one of the guys who was a patent holder on XM radio. And then I don't know how many corporations and bureaucracies you are involved in, but I left the room and I came back, and now I'm the CEO of the Planetary Society. Right on. We want you all to consider joining. In 1985, Lou Friedman, the guy camera right in the previous picture, published his book about solar sailing. I read the book. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Next slide. And these extraordinary ideas people still have for building a spacecraft so big, how big is it? So low mass, and so shiny, that sunlight, just light, would push it through space. And I know what you're all thinking. Of course you're saying, Bill, 9, engineering guy. Light has no mass. How could it possibly give a push? It turns out it's pure energy, and it has momentum. And by long tradition, we call it the pressure of sunlight, light pressure. So these lamps right here are exerting pressure on me, but it's quite small. When you're in space, it's about 9 micronewtons per square meter when you get above the atmosphere. A micronewton is not very big, but if you have enough meters, enough square meters, and low enough mass, it gets a push. So it's really an extraordinary thing. There's no rocket fuel. Once you're above the atmosphere, it gets a push day and night. But you're in outer space, there's no night. Whoa! So JAXA, Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, flew a spacecraft, wow, Icarus, it was almost 10 years ago. And there was a demonstration. It has a 600 kilogram bus. The middle of the spacecraft is quite massive. So this was just a demonstration, and it worked. And it's in deep space, and it steers by changing the reflectivity of the sails, but it turns very, very slowly because it's in deep space. Up until 3 years ago, no one had flown a solar sail in Earth orbit. Next slide. Carl Sagan, here's Carl Sagan on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Back in 1976, I saw he would come to class and talk about this extraordinary idea. And they were going to have, Lou Friedman was one of the principal investigators, was going to have a spacecraft to catch up with Comet Halley, what we used to call Halley's Comet. But that mission was never got funded, mostly to fund the International Space Station and the Space Shuttle program. But last year, I was on Stephen Colbert with another model of a different spacecraft. 40 years after Professor Sagan talked about this idea. And for those of you who are members of the Planetary Society, thank you very much. We flew Light Sail 1 in May and June 3 years ago, and it was a success. It was a test flight. This is the best picture we got back. And the idea is to get it in Earth orbit, and then if you had it going on, you would build orbital energy with solar pressure, sun pressure, and you take it to wherever you want to go. The moon, Mars, or some extraordinary place, an asteroid in the solar system for very low cost. This is a means to democratize space exploration, to bring down the cost, not of human spaceflight so much, but cargo missions and instrumented missions to destinations in the solar system. Our design is so successful. It's so successful that the Starshot people are proposing using the same the same design. Don't worry, NASA tried deploying sails on something called NanoSail D, and it worked after about 5.5 weeks, but there are almost 6 weeks where the sails wouldn't come out. Do you know why? Why? Nobody knows why, but eventually we think the heating and cooling of being in Earth orbit had made it shake loose. But on our spacecraft, LightSail 1 and LightSail 2, we solved that problem for sure, and our mission is to advance space science and exploration. So if any of you want to use our proprietary design with a Swiss watch motor and this crazy little gear train and these cobalt steel booms manufactured at the Air Force Research Lab in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Remember, it's Albuquerque if you go to spell it. We'll set you up. We're here for you, man, or woman. And so Starshot is to take more power than the world produces for 3 or 5 minutes and push it to another star system. People all around the world got very excited about LightSail 1. They sent us their selfies, we put them on a ceramic disc, and we flew them in space. And there's just something about doing that that makes us feel good about ourselves. These pictures we put on, you can still see them, they're on our website in what we call the Bruce Murray Space Image Library, named after one of our founders who, by all accounts, you guys, Bruce Murray was working on the Mariner program, and for those of you of a certain age, the Mariner spacecraft were just derived from another spacecraft called Ranger, which was running, the Ranger spacecraft crashed into the moon. And I hope some of you go there someday and look at the wreckage. It'll be fun. But Bruce Murray, by all accounts, was in a meeting around 1968 and insisted, made the case that spacecraft have cameras. Can you imagine a space program without pictures? Who would care less? I mean, my goodness. So we named our library after him. He was a heck of a guy. The other thing we do at the Planetary Society is we work for you. We're here under the Endeavor, which I hope you can, those of you who are able-bodied with eyesight will notice bears a U.S. flag on the side of the ship. The United States has the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, which is still the world's largest space agency by far, much bigger than all the other space agencies combined. And so we work hard in the U.S. Congress. We have members in Japan, we have members in Europe, members in Canada, members in Mexico, members in several countries in South America. But the U.S. is still this very important place in space exploration. So we go to U.S. Congress several times a week and interact. As we say, Washington's a small town based on relationships. So you go there, you become friends with congressmen, staffers, and you encourage them to fund planetary exploration. If those of you who are members, thank you, thank you, thank you. We carry your letters. They take them out to Langley, Maryland, and sterilize them and look for germs, and then they give them to congressional staffers. And here we are walking in front of the Capitol, I guess it was at the end of January. This picture was taken the day of the State of the Union address. And say what you will, we were there because it's Article 2, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution to have a State of the Union reported to Congress. And we have engaged enough congressmen and senators and congresswomen to have what we call the Planetary Science Caucus. Now, a caucus is an official thing in the House of Representatives. It's an informal thing in the Senate. But these people all agree that planetary exploration is worthy, and they're going to fund it. And the NASA budget is once again over $20 billion, and planetary science right now is over $2 billion. So it's thanks to you, the members of the Planetary Society, through your emails, your postcards, your letters that we help you write that get this sort of motion. Now John Culberson from Houston is a very conservative guy. does not get along with California's Adam Schiff about anything except a mission to Europa. So the Planetary Society has been very active in supporting the Europa Clipper mission, and this would be a mission that would go look for so-called biosignatures on the moon of Jupiter that is twice as much seawater as the Earth. My friends, if we were to discover evidence of life on Europa, on Mars, on Enceladus, the moon of Saturn, it would change the course of human history. Not everything would change one afternoon. Gray, your people would still drive on the left. The people here would still drive on the right, I hope. But the world would change. This discovery would be akin to discoveries made by Copernicus, or Galileo, or Henrietta Leavitt. And keep in mind, by the way, the ocean on Europa was discovered by Margie Kivelson, a woman, at the forefront of this. Peoples, half the humans are girls and women. Let's have half the scientists and engineers be women. Come on, let's go. So everybody, we are poised to launch Light Sail 2 on the next Falcon Heavy. We are on the manifest. The batteries are charged up. The burn wires are wrapped. She's all boxed up in a Pelican case in Albuquerque, New Mexico, waiting for her trip to Cape Canaveral. So if there are any SpaceX people here, thank you. And we are on the Esper Ring. We're going to be here for you. You are going to give us a ride. I was at Cape Canaveral 3 weeks ago for the launch of Falcon Heavy 1. What a fantastic sight, you guys. It really was spectacular. I've been now to 7 launches. It was amazing. It just goes up and up and up, and you heard all about it, where you see 2 more flames and they come down and land right there. It was really something. So it's going to be a very exciting time in the future of space exploration. I am so happy you're all here. Thank you for your support. I hope you'll consider joining us at the Planetary Society. And we have built Light Sail 2 thanks to you, and we are ready to launch SpaceX. Hit us the ball, as we say in the national pastime. Roll that video.